Welcome to Wonderful Wednesdays. We have David Jones with us. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Reverend Julie.
Yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about music and culture and the work that David does at UWC. Did you want to kind of start us out with how it's going, getting ready for the semester, and just in the current
Sure.
climate? Yeah.
Oh, yes, very much. Yes, it's always a busy and exhilarating time, the start of a school year. And I think it's, of course, complicated by the pandemic and the choices that parents and universities are making as to how best to deliver instruction when there is that infection risk. So I think every educator and people in many professions are facing that challenge. So I think once most of what I will be doing is hybrid teaching. So once that's decided, it'll be a little easier to wrap my mind around content, and that there's so much vitality to this moment and need for thoughtfulness and care. So all of those things are elevated at this time, and that's what we need to deliver as educators the best that we can, despite the challenges that everyone is facing.
What do you feel are some of the courses maybe that you've taught in the past or currently that really speak to the moment that we're in as far as, how culture and literature affect the now and the future?
Yeah, so one course I teach is multicultural images in film. And I think that that course has always been enjoyable because film in a college environment, everyone should have a film class when they're in college. It seems to me like the just a very prototypical humanities experience to think about the history of films that we see in many settings, both relaxed and educational. But I think lately I've gotten more conceptual in teaching that class and trying to think about how can we make a more direct transfer of what we learned from studying film to human relationships across difference. So just having some frameworks that talk about what does racial identity mean and not mean, that we do make community within sometimes our racial groups. Are we intentionally making those communities? And are we exclusive about those communities? And what do we get when we buy into a racial identity? And what is the cost? So I think film is a nice way of talking about those questions. And that's one course I've enjoyed redesigning in recent days.
How are you discussing, with your family or friends or with students, the current moment as far as, just personally and, as an educator or as a parent, how do you talk about the current moment?
Yeah, well, there's certainly a couple of dimensions to it. We've talked a little bit about the pandemic, and I certainly do try to foreground what I think the university advises too is that definitely make your own decisions about what to do. And for me to not do any group activities, no required group activities that are face to face, and just I try not to have any activities in the syllabus that encourage group formation.
Yeah.
Um, and things of that kind. But I think as far as the one of the other big issues of the era is race relations, police violence against people of color, and other ways that we try to move toward an anti-racist society. So that's something that is an everyday emphasis in many areas of my work. And I've actually worked with a collaborator, Ann Ripnow, that's the director of entrepreneurship. We've been working on a project where we just do one-on-one conversations. And it's not connected to a formal research or directly connected. That's been really interesting just to sit down and talk about what makes race meaningful for you. What are the ways that discomfort occurs or doesn't occur when you talk about race? And when you look at your circles, what would you like to see happen as far as a change toward better relationships? So we've been doing those one-on-one conversations for a couple months. We've gotten 3 done so far, and have some others planned. But that's been really good because I think it's easy to take for granted your moment when you grew up and what the logic was at that moment. And for me, that was the midst of the civil rights movement when I was born in 1963. And so, I mean, it has a certain trajectory of when integration comes. Okay, you get to be the one to integrate. You get to get in the bus and go to that school, and it's no longer an abstraction. Um, and then let's see what happens. Let's put the kids together and see what happens. And then the logic changes. Oh, maybe that wasn't what there's a consensus to do, is to send kids across town. So we'll make it voluntary, or we'll not have it at all. And it's easy to take for granted that everyone has that kind of long view. Uh, so I really think it's important to just hear what people are experiencing, and especially if we're going to be effective as facilitators or leaders or teachers, any role, we really need to be cognizant of what people are experiencing now.
How do you think culture or the current, obviously George Floyd really impacted people one way or another, and this is not new, as you were just saying, that violence has been happening, and people have been trying to change things for a while. But what's different now, and what do you think is different maybe in the Chippewa Valley, or is it not different? I guess.
Oh yeah, well I think it's certainly a social media phenomenon to see things so close and personal and see the incident develop from beginning to end. And George Floyd has been very difficult. It actually happened very close to where I lived in Minneapolis, right around the corner from our old band house. 30th in Chicago is where it was the bus stop that, was almost visible from where we used to live. And so I know lots of people in South Minneapolis, which is my favorite neighborhood, bar none. I mean, I'm a big fan of South Minneapolis, so part of why I'm wearing purple. I wear purple a lot these days.
Nice.
Um, but so I haven't actually been to any of the affected areas, even though again I have friends that live there that I could certainly visit sometime. And I think I have visited with a friend, but I think we met south of there. And of course, my daughter Rhea that went to school at Minneapolis South High School. So some of the incidents that occurred were right across the street from her former high school.
Right.
So it's pretty close to home. And I think one of the things that has come out of that is certainly the amount of involvement of people that don't live in the community, that there is a lot of action, both positive and negative, that comes from people that don't live in the community. And I hope that story gets amplified over time. What does it mean that people travel from city to city or from state to state to get involved in an action, and not just to, call up the Unitarian Church and see who's organizing to do a solidarity march. Uh, I'm sure that that's a part of the experience too, that, when there's an affected community, other people care, they want to get involved, they find these legitimate channels. But I mean, I think it's a huge consciousness raising event, very sad, but huge consciousness raising of what can happen and what does happen with frequency. And so I think it's just balancing that knowledge that we all understand this issue from a more personal and perhaps more, well, I won't say we all understand it more empathically, but a lot of people do. And then it is always hard having a frank conversation about racial issues with the political divisions that have endured for so long. So the pushback, I think, is immediate once you have that demand to treat citizens fairly and equally. And there's just such a racial framework over that I think people struggle in some cases to just appreciate, Black people pay taxes too. We just want to have police that don't tolerate that type of behavior. No organization should. And, just to have a level of outrage on the side of let's have better relationships if they've broken down to that point. So all of that has been revealed to anyone that is following these issues. And I think that, it's disillusioning from the standpoint of you hope that you had done more, that some of the things you did before might have moved the needle toward a more open society. But maybe that's also true. Maybe the fact that there's been some grounding and some conversation allows a little bit more buy-in from a broader spectrum of the public to say we need to do something.
How do you have some guitars behind you there. How does your music and how do you feel music plays a role in this consciousness raising, or at least even the emotional element of letting out some of the feelings?
Yes, well, I'm hoping that we can get out a little bit more as musicians, because I think the opportunity to assemble is really powerful in this moment. And I've only played 2 shows since the pandemic. I've got one more coming up at Rush River Folk Festival, but it's just such a great opportunity to just see people and be with people that maybe was taken for granted a little bit before we didn't have the opportunity to do that. So I'm looking for ways to try to get that message into more of my music. I've written a fair amount of political music, and I'm working on 2 new CDs actually. One I want to record here at the garage, and some of the songs I think have a resonance related to this issue of what divides us and perhaps what can bring us together. And then I'm hoping that I have a collaborator named Chi Vang, who's a filmmaker, and I'm hoping that he and I can do another music video in Minneapolis. So I've got the song ready, need to rehearse it up a little bit more, and that's for the CD for 2021 that I'm going to produce at a studio. So this current CD is going to be produced here at the garage with home tools and have that undergroundy sound. And
Nice.
then the next CD, I want to have that polish, that radio level polish. So hoping to do a music video near the site of George Floyd's death and to get some images of our old band house. And I think all of the former musicians in that band in Minneapolis, the Parsley Brothers, it's the name of our band, called the Parsley House. All of those bandmates live in Minneapolis area still. So I may be able to get everyone in the video and then get some other people that are important to me that live in South Minneapolis and just film it at a few different locations. So I think it's really key to music unifies. And, I think it's the ironic and maybe hopeful thing about COVID with musicians is just learning to appreciate each other as musicians and cheer each other on, and hopefully find ways that we can reconnect when the time is right. And I think most musicians I know have been very cautious and thoughtful about how best to do the live music. But it elevates the opportunity for online and to do your composing projects.
Yeah. Are you connected to music in a different way now during COVID? I mean, is it kind of the balm, or what is it like doing art, and just in just tough times?
Yeah, it's definitely a refuge. And I mean, I've kind of been working harder to take the art I do more seriously. And maybe that's because of only having so many years in the full-time employment realm and feeling like, I can be of value in my full-time employment. But I feel like it's always, for my to-do list, art has always been second string. It's kind of like, get done with the regular work and then, go out there and enjoy a couple gigs over the weekend or play guitar. Sometimes I'll go 2 weeks without picking up a guitar. And then just lately I've been just trying to focus on that. Just like, this is, I've been doing this since I was 18 or so. I mean, fairly steadily through a lot of different transitions. And, it's time to just enjoy playing. And, I'm surrounded by guitars and amplifiers, which I love. This particular one is 12-string Alvarez is probably going to be one of the primary guitars in the upcoming project. It's great, bright sound. And And, just it's great to take that opportunity to express yourself. And I think it's really interesting, just songwriting wise, because I used to be more strictly a folk and blues player, but it's sort of because of hip hop and other kinds of contemporary pop is what we hear the most if you just turn your radio on to your average station.
Right.
So it's interesting to start to think like that, that's how I think in terms of song structure.
Hmm.
Not that I even try to internalize those styles, but it just is, you just grow as a musician by hearing what the most popular styles are.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, you look at musicals, Hamilton being a recent, and everything evolves. And so I wonder, thinking that everything evolves and changes, what do you think are some of the positives, or what do you think are some of the things that might come out of this turmoil, and also just COVID, for the future? I mean, if you could put your goggles on and see into the future, I mean, what do you think might change?
Well, I'm hoping that young people lead more, because I don't want to bash my own era and age, but lately I've just been feeling like, what is the legacy that we're leaving for the next generation?
Hmm.
And is the next generation prominent enough in our thoughts to drive our decision making? And looking at data, I mean, just what it looks like as far as the economic situation for older people versus younger people. I mean, the situation for older people has actually improved over time. I don't know with the pandemic and the recession, but up until then, I mean, the trend line was going in a very good direction, but not so much for younger people. And that there's less social mobility, that, Western Europe has more social mobility. A lot of countries do. And that's it. Just it's I hope that this gives us some energy to think about what are we leaving behind for the next generation. And that's what my motivation lately, just to try to use the influences that I have with these institutions and to try to say, we need to think about what we're doing. Is it sustainable over 20 years? Are there things that we always thought were important that we might as well just not do these things because they're not important? I say this gently because I'm in an English department, but people live perfectly legitimate lives without taking an American literature course. I mean, I hate to admit that, but it's true. And I only say that just to think about, the things we think are so necessary are not necessarily the first thing that's going to make us a sustainable and just uh, society. So I think we just need a little bit of, or more than a little bit, we need to do some formative thinking. Um, and maybe we can do that with curriculum. And it's nice that we've done that with telecommuting, that the argument for telecommuting was a more contested one for COVID.
Right.
And then, hey, wait, I don't have to rent an office building. Hey, wait, I don't have to drive 40 miles.
Yeah.
Look at all these treasures that we discovered and look how far that conversation went. That would have taken years and years if we had all formed committees and talked about it. So
And the internet is an equalizer. I mean, it gives, like you said, the power of social media, and we've seen the broadcasting world just turned upside down, and perhaps music also. So
right.
yeah, so I guess culturally, I'm just really curious how these moments are going to shape our future, and hopefully into a more anti-racist and equal future, where there's more access access to.
Yeah, very much. I mean, that is a good outcome. That I've heard about this from a disability rights standpoint too, just that things are being made accessible that would not have been accessible up until now. And just that sometimes certain financial models of who you appeal to drive what you do. That people that have means are the ones that are targeted with a lot of economic activity as well as education. But now we have the chance to reinvent ourselves and just say, let's let's have a broader reach, because it's important for good ideas to reach a greater number of people, and to not have geography be such a barrier to access to certain privileges and good things in life.
Well, closing out kind of our time here is, what spiritually does music do for you, and what would you, I mean, if you were reaching out to someone right now to say, this is how I'm getting through COVID, this is how I'm engaging with this moment. I mean, you already kind of told us about making music, and I just wonder if you might have any other words about that.
Sure. So, just thinking spiritually in music, I always think about the communication that music does for people. That if you make the right music, it really goes deeply and is a part of people's lives like very few art forms. So I try to keep that in mind, and it's always a compliment when people can discover something that is of value to them that you help to create. And so for original music, that's really the goal. And I'm kind of still working with an album length logic that people don't even have the album length logic all the time anymore. But for me, it's still just having that more extended musical statement that is kind of a meditation on a time and place in your life. And I think when I play blues, I mean, I always take pride and feel uplifted by just how many people have played blues over the years in all these different situations and with all different musical tools. So to add your voice to that and to make that style available to another audience, I think is very powerful for me. And just thinking about in the old days, 10 years ago or so, we used to play up in Chippewa Falls all the time, and all those 22-year-olds knew the words to Muddy Waters songs. And it's like, that was us. We went up there and played Muddy Waters and BB King and helped that music find an audience at that time and that place. So I think for COVID, I think what I would, what I try to keep in mind is that the current level of, or the current kind of absence of large scale solutions will not be the case forever. I think we are good technologically with medical research. So, and of course, everyone knows the solution that is short term is mask, social distance, wash your hands, and it will give about 80% of what a vaccine will do.
Right.
So I think it takes some of us a while, including me, to just let that message sink in deeply, and then let's imagine a future where we can do more things again. So I think just kind of, it's not forever. And the more that we can just wait to go back to the way it was, the better. Every day we can wait, every month that we can wait. And, I try to remind myself of that, of, when I had Nico kind of this week or last week without any daycare really. And, we thought about, oh, should I go see my sister in Oklahoma City? And it's like, well, let's wait to go see your sister in Oklahoma City. I
Right.
mean, that can happen some other time. I mean, just hunker down and, have it a little extra YouTube, let's forgive ourselves, for this moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing with us. And I know some of my favorite moments, I've been watching you play music with your daughter Rhea, and at different ages that I saw her grow up, and just the power of what I really appreciate about you as a musician is how you include so many different musicians, and just the sense of community that comes with your music. And um, it's like an ethic that transcends, like you said, it transcends. It's a long meditation. And anyway, I just appreciate that about your music.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a compliment that Rhea still occasionally likes seeing me play. So even at 17, she'd still like to occasionally go to a gig, and that's a nice compliment.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, and we'll look out for music videos and spottings of David Jones doing music.
Sounds great. Thanks, Julie.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.